Okay, so I hope some of you heard it or maybe not, but we have just started the recording. So welcome to the I don't know what to call this, pair development experiment that we are doing with Ferenc Erki, or most of you know him as Ferki, who is the maintainer of Rex. My name is Gabor Szabó, and run this group or channel or whatever you call. So if you're watching it in YouTube or some channel, that's usually the Code Maven. This usually goes under the name Code Maven, or sometimes it's Perl Maven. And we're going to talk and actually work on this setting up some servers. And you'll have the ability to chat, everyone, and Ferki and I can even talk and also share screens. So Ferki, please introduce yourself, say a couple of words about yourself so we can, and about Rex, just a few words, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And also thanks for inviting me. It was also great to do this together with the test sessions. And yeah, everyone just feel free to call me Ferki. I go by that name for a long while now, on and offline. I think that's easier to pronounce as well for everyone all around the world. And yeah, as Gabor mentioned, I'm the current maintainer of Rex. I've been with the project for a bit more than 8 years now. I think in February it was 8 years. But the project itself was started 10 and a half years ago. So I'm not the original author of it, but I've been a long-term contributor and maintainer, and currently I'm leading all the efforts around it. Yeah, and that also covers most of my experience with Perl as well. Actually, I decided to learn Perl itself because I wanted to understand how Rex works under the hood. And yeah, I started contributing. My first ever pull request on GitHub was for Rex. It got accepted, and the rest is history.
Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen, and then basically Ferki is going to tell me what to do. And when I don't understand something, then I ask. And if you have any questions, then please, anyone else, just type in the chat, and I will try to answer. And obviously, I won't be able, probably, most likely. So Ferki is going to be the one who is giving the right answer then. Okay, so this is basically the idea. So let me share my screen. Okay, so now you're supposed to see the Rex website, and what we discussed a little bit earlier with Ferki, that instead of using my computer as the whatever starting point of using, let me wait a second. Instead of using my computer, I'm going to create just a separate computer, and that will be the whatever home computer. How do you call it? Where you run
the management host.
The management host. Okay, so I have this DigitalOcean account, and I'm just going to create a droplet just for this. It's going to be an Ubuntu something. Oh, they raised the price. Okay, this used to be $5 per month. Somewhere, probably US, doesn't matter. I use the SSH key, my own SSH key, and I'm going to call this, how should I call it? Code Maven Rex. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, and so we'll see. So I will know that I'm on that server. Okay. And I think that's it. Okay, so I'm creating this machine just to be able to use it instead of my own machine, so we can. So I won't accidentally
start from scratch.
So yeah, we are starting from scratch. It's both good because we can see how to start from scratch, and it's good because less chances that I'm going to share some actual secret of my own computer. So I have this IP address, and Nope. And I can SSH there as root. Okay, that's how it's created in DigitalOcean, and it already pasted my public key there. Okay, so now here it's I'm on user root and CodeMaven Rex. So now what we sort of the little thing that we really planned and is experimented is that we're going to set up a couple of these servers, and then we are trying to manage those. So now I'm going to create a server, or how many shall I create, or what shall I create?
I guess we can start with one just to make sure that everything in the setup works, and then as soon as we validated the basic structure, we can add more probably.
Okay, so
but if you already know you need to manage 5 or 6 or more, just go ahead. But I guess take some time.
Let's set up two of these Ubuntus, okay, for a starter, okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if we set up something else, some other system, or we'll stick with these two, okay. And so we're going to call I think it's, how do I need to do this? Ubu1, that's good, and I need 2 of them. Okay, so it's going to be Ubu1 and Ubu2.
All right.
And I'll keep them. I don't need. Right. So now, okay. Before we do that, okay, we don't want to do this now, okay, because we don't want to use my SSH key there. We wanted to do something else. We wanted to, or we need to create an SSH key here on this server, because this is sort of acting as the host, right? The management system. So
yes, it's very good point that you brought up. If you would provision the new Ubuntu boxes with your pre-existing key, then you could still use SSH forwarding through the management box to use the same credentials and the same key. But I guess it's much better for today if you would just generate a new key pair on the management host and then we deploy that.
Yeah, I mean, if I was using this SSH key that I already have stored, then I can connect from my own computer. But in order to connect from this one, the CodeMaven Rex, I would need to copy my private key there, right? That's the only solution, basically. Because I don't have a password.
You either copy it there from your local computer, which you generally don't want to do because it might be shared computer, so others might get access to your key, or it might get compromised, right?
Right.
So what you could do is ask SSH on your local machine to forward your credentials to the management node. So in turn, it can still use that to reach the next node. It also has its pros and cons. So it's possible, but I think it's also better if we just create a new key pair. Yeah. Because so we can avoid confusion and we can avoid going into advanced SSH topics and so on.
I mean, this would be the normal way to do that. You would have your own computer. This you wouldn't run probably on some remote machine. It would be like your own computer, right? So now I created the SSH keys, and I need the SSH public key, right? And I copy it. And here, new SSH key.
Yep.
Okay, paste. No, this is the. I didn't copy that one apparently. Copy, and now I paste it here. And how should I call it? I call it Rex. Okay.
All right.
Something went wrong. Okay, that's not good.
Could you check the end of the key? I'm not sure if it could paste everything. No, it looks okay.
It looks okay. I don't like this. Open the terminal and run the following command. That's it. Okay, so I ran, and then what? Okay, it wants just this. So I don't know. Anyone has ideas? Just let us know. Wow.
That's strange.
Does it say anything?
I'm not using DigitalOcean myself, but I guess what they're trying to do is valid. So I don't have any clues why it might be failing. My guess would be that somehow it might insert a literal new line in the middle of the key, as you can see with the line breaks, right?
Yeah, but this is no. You see it? I'm just deleting the B.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange formatting there then.
I don't need this one right at the end.
Yeah, that's
okay. I don't like it. Let's not waste. Okay, someone said remove that, and I just did that. Let's try it again. It forgot the. Wow. What's going on?
Yeah, maybe check status DigitalOcean. Maybe they have wider trouble.
That would be it. It would be yeah.
Perfect timing.
What is this? Like status? Did it?
Status of digitalocean.com. I believe that's what they showed for a moment.
But there's always managed databases. Okay, no,
but at the top, they also show that there's issues with the management interface. Top, up. Issues with Cloud Control Panel and API. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, but it started apparently a few hours ago. That's not a good sign.
Okay, and it logged me out, the whole thing. Okay, wow, sorry. So now I have to.
If you have some other pre-existing host, maybe we can reuse that.
No, we're going to create a, well, hopefully.
Does it have a password authentication option? Can you create DigitalOcean?
Yes. So we can do that.
Okay.
I think it will send me in the email the password. So we can do that. Okay. So let's try this one. Okay. Still yes. The cheapest one. These ones, I don't. Okay, I can select the SSH key here just to make sure that I can. No, but then it won't send me the password.
Yeah. Or just try to add the key now that you re-authenticated.
Shall I try a new SSH key here?
Yeah, no, it was good.
Whatever happened, okay, so now it worked. Okay, and I want to create 2 of these, and that's it, right? So the Rex, and I asked for the cheapest one just to make sure that I won't spend too much money on it. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So now we're going to have these 2 machines, hopefully very soon. What shall I do now?
Well, since we are focusing on Rex, we want to make sure that we can log in via SSH to these new boxes from the management box.
I guess we'll have to install Rex first.
And then, I mean, yeah, just try to start with step by step. Like first, we want to make sure that there's connectivity, we can reach the host. Then the login works via SSH. And then we want to do the same from Rex as well, because under the hood, Rex will just use SSH by default to manage remote endpoints.
SSHing to one of the machines, that's what?
Yeah, we can try that, yeah.
Okay,
Excellent.
That's
So
Ubuntu.
all set up and works with the key authentication. That's what we expected.
And this is Ubu 1.
Yeah, let's try the other one.
Okay, and we can see that we can SSH to both of them after accepting the signature of the servers. Okay, what now?
Yeah, in my head, basically the first goal is to be able to run simple commands from the command line with rex on the remote host. For example, we can ask for the host name or something like that, because that already proves a lot of things, right? So there's network connectivity, authentication works. We can execute commands and retrieve the results and so on. So it's a very good end-to-end or a quick test, at least at this point.
Okay.
So yeah, from SSH it works, and yeah, we want to install Rex.
Okay.
Actually,
how do I do that?
The management box is also on Ubuntu, right?
It's also Ubuntu, right?
So yeah, usually what I recommend is that yes, many distributions has Rex in the official repositories. Actually, on the website, install Rex or get Rex menu, we also recommend it. But of course, we can use cpan to install the latest. I'm not sure which version will be exactly in this version of Ubuntu. It's Focal, that's pretty new. I think 1.12 or something like that. Should be there.
Okay, so it will take I don't know, probably not too much because it's everything is in the cloud.
Yeah, from the packages, it should be pretty fast. Yeah, I think it would be slower from cpan because it would need to pull in all the dependencies, right? And also run their tests and so on.
Yeah, but generally what you're saying is that cpan pod rex that you can just install with cpan-m. But wait a second. Here you said that here somewhere there is
get rex. Yeah.
Get rex. Okay.
Yeah. So there's the various ways.
So this one or git clone from the repository, or
yeah, I would say 3 or 4 main methods to install it. Since it's a per project, it probably comes naturally to install it with your favorite cpan client directly from cpan. That would be always the latest stable released version. But of course, the development versions can be installed like that as well. And then if you would prefer staying with the operating systems package manager, quite a few distributions already supply it. If you go to repology.org, you can also quickly check that.
Repology?
Yeah, repology. Yeah, .org. And if you search for the package Rex, I think there's a search, quick navigation search packages. Yes.
This one, Rex.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it will be called Perl Rex or P5 Rex down in the list.
Tyrex. Okay, and I don't think that either of them no. Okay, but like it's 140.
I can send you the link. Yes, that that's a common substring, right? But it's actually called. I'm going to post it in the chat. Right?
Okay.
So, as you can see, if you scroll down, you can see a lot of distributions, Alt, our various flavors of Debian, Fedora, all the versions.
What are the colors here? By the way, what are the colors here?
The red means that it's not the latest release upstream. Green is that the latest, so CPAN has the latest, and Dev one. Yeah, since I released the last version Friday, most of them will not be green because the package maintainers did not have time yet. But a couple of them already packaged. It's freshest on Gen 2 where I maintain it. There's also, in general, the Debian maintainer is very active and fast to package it, usually within a week. There's even a history if you want to check.
So it says, this says that it's Ubuntu 24, it's 1.8.1, and how do I get it from here?
Yes, so there's a couple of command line switches, as you would expect, with -v. Now it's, I think, only shorthand. Yeah, it's 1.8.1. That's what we wanted to do first. And if you want to get the list of it, you can do rex -h. You can see there's quite a few options actually. For various things.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Good. We are going to use some of those, not all of them.
Yeah, but what we can see that what asked in the chat also, what is the version here? So it's Rex also tells us it's 1.8.1, and in the website it's also said that on Ubuntu 20.04, and this is what we installed created with DigitalOcean. It's that version. Okay.
Yes, maybe later we want to install the latest one, or at least something newer. But I think just to get started, it will be fine.
Okay.
I think 1.8 is like, a year old or so, so it's definitely not the freshest, and there has been many changes since then. A lot of bug fixes as well, as you can imagine. When we hit something that might be already fixed in a newer version, then we install it from CPAN.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Let's go. Let's roll with this one for now, and then we'll see. Okay. Yeah.
So basically, we would like to run a command on one of the remote machines, right? Ubu 1 and Ubu 2. We have the IP addresses of those, and we can use that directly with rex -uppercase h. That's short for host. Like the lowercase is for help, right? And uppercase is.
I just have to find the IP addresses. Okay. Rex -h.
Yeah. And just like with the Perl, there's -e for eval. So for evaluating rex expression, which is just Perl code in the end. And I would say we can run, I don't know, retrieve the host name. That sounds good, right?
Like run and host name?
Yes, almost. Just put it into quotes, please, because it has a space in it. And in general, what I like is to quote the argument of run. So run is just a function inside rex. So pretty much like inside the parentheses as a string, or
like this?
As a string. So you would need to double quote that, or just put the Q operator before it. Right?
Okay. So
because it's just Perl.
Okay, so like this.
Yeah, and then even the parentheses are not mandatory, I think.
Let's try this one. Okay, let's just run with it. Okay. Okay, so
yes,
this is ran, and I just want to see this one. So this is basically the same, and you say that probably this you don't need this either, right? So all of them seems to work.
Yes, but we also wanted to print the results, I guess.
Yeah.
So for that, we can use say in front of run, because run just executes it, right? And it's
in
like
front of run, so say here.
Yes.
Okay.
And that should print the returned value. Yeah. So that's what we expected to see, the host name, and it was apparently the second machine's IP.
Okay, we'll have to find the other IP as well. Here we are.
Let's try both.
Now how? I lost it. I never know how to get the last one.
Just press up.
Up. But this is like, I mean, in already.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Okay.
So how do I with comma here?
No, if you want to run with both, you can pass more than one, but then you have to also put it into quotes and it's space separated list.
Okay.
So the quotes again are required because we are running it from the shell, right? So it doesn't think it's the next argument, but it's a space separated list. Yeah, and it should run it in sequentially on both. Ubuntu, Ubuntu, excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
So as you could see, Rex already implicitly picked up a couple of settings from your environment because we didn't specify the username, for example. If you don't specify otherwise, it's the current user's name.
Yeah, well, which is
in
this case, both is root.
Yes, and as in this case, that's how's it called? That's the do what I mean, right? So if I don't specify otherwise, try to do what SSH would do. So yeah, it also figured out that it should use a key authentication, right? It didn't ask for any password and so on. It also picked up your correct key because that's all default. It's like a try.
Okay.
It's like a.
Let's
try
use
not to surprise too much.
Can we use names instead of these?
Yes, sure. I think somebody already mentioned that in the chat a couple of messages before, that normally as humans we would like to use nice names, and that would be more like the job for DNS to resolve nice names into IP addresses.
Yeah.
But we can also use SSH aliases, right?
Okay.
So if you configure your SSH locally in .ssh/config, we can, let's call it poor man's DNS. It's not really DNS, but SSH will pick it up. So if you put, I think the format is host and then the nice name. And on the next line with indentation,
okay, just for.
Yeah, and put the IP on the next line. I think it's uppercase host. I'm not sure if it's case sensitive.
Okay, so should I just upper this case?
Yeah, and the config name I think is host name, also uppercase host name with the initial. No, sorry, no, one line below for the IP.
And then like this?
Yes, let me quickly check the format. I didn't look up any of the manuals, but yes, that should be it.
Yeah, so Steve is writing that putting it in etc hosts might be a little easier, and that's
also possible.
That's probably right. I think when we tried this, and about this is the depths that we went in when we were trying the whole thing, then we didn't want to do that because I was using my own computer and it has all kind of private information in the etc hosts, all kind of servers that I don't want. I mean, it's not really private, but I prefer not to share that. And this time it doesn't matter because this host is not, it's clean host.
I think we can show that in a minute or two.
Okay, we can. Well, let's try this one and then show the other one quickly.
Yeah.
So this one, this is the.
Put host name. Also, maybe for readability, just put an empty line between the two entries, right?
Okay. So now I'm supposed to be able to use. Go ahead.
Yeah. So instead of the IPs, you should be able to write Ubuntu and Ubuntu. Important difference is that the host name is with dashes before the number.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I made it on purpose.
Alias is without the dash, But it's good because we can see that it is really picked up from the SSH config.
Yeah.
It's not some magic somewhere else.
Yeah, that's why I did it differently. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you put back the dash, it will not work, I guess. No, in the command line. Sorry, no. Just leave the SSH config. And if you put back in the dash, it will not work because it cannot.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't know what ubu-1 is.
No, you can put it into etc host just to see that it will also work, right?
Okay. So I put etc hosts. And I copied these. So let's do now. Okay. Let's comment out ubu2.
You can leave it in because it will work with dashes and with the shorthand notation.
Okay.
I think the important point here is that in the SSH config, what we define is really like aliases, right?
Yeah. No,
for specific configs.
Wait a second. So you want me here to put dash?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we are emulating DNS here, right? The name resolution.
Okay. And I also copied this the other one. And this is ubu1, right? And so this provides and this I can put it back if I really want. And now I can run.
Both should work. Yes.
Both should both should
like
work.
This.
Huh.
It's a new host.
Yeah, because it thinks it's a new host, so it will.
It thinks, yes.
Yeah.
And
so,
I think you mixed up the names in the etc hosts because ubu-1 outputted ubu-2, so it's the other way around. 6 is ubu1.
6 is ubu1.
Huh. I think one of those are mixed up.
I mean,
cross-check with the droplet.
They are the same in the two configuration files, but maybe they are not the
because
ones
you copied. Yes. Yeah.
So let's try just to make sure what happens here. Ubu1, it says ubu2. Wonderful. Okay, I can fix it. Okay.
That's the worst kind of alias because it's also misleading.
Okay.
But it's a working alias.
Okay. Yeah, so now
I believe that would be consistent with the DigitalOcean config now.
Yeah. So now it's okay. So now if I do it, and of course now it will.
It's a different key.
Yeah. So now, okay. So we haven't touched Rex so far yet too much, but what is the problem? Is that is in known hosts, right? That's the problem.
Yes.
Okay. So
you can delete all of those if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Before executing, please wait for a moment. As we can see, it complained that it cannot authenticate against ubu1. And in the longer error message, it tried to print out some of the possible root causes for that. And one of them is change remote host key, right? So for debugging, it might be useful to read before. I mean, we already know that it's a change host key, so that's good. But it tries to be helpful.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I like this
cases.
one.
Yeah, that part is not nice.
Yeah. Okay.
That's that's more like debug output, right? So it's like
so it's a good thing to advertise that it's written in Perl, but not in the error messages, because it's just a negative thing. Yeah. Okay. So let's try to run this now, and it asks me the magic, and then it worked. And it's ubu1, and if I add ubu2 as well, then it will ask for that one, and now both of them are working. Okay, good.
Yes, so I think we pretty much
I don't know
set for bigger things now.
Okay.
Because it works from emulating DNS from etc hosts. We also have SSH aliases for shorthand notation. Maybe what you can also try is that if you would have 10 machines, you probably don't want to type all 10.
Okay.
So there are like a shorthand notation for that. So in Ubu 1, Ubu 2, instead of that, you can write just Ubu dash, delete back dash, and it's a square bracket, and comma 2, and close the square bracket. Right, that's like listing the names.
Okay.
But with 100 machines, you would probably want the dot operator, right? So it's like
it's a range.
That's a range, exactly.
Okay.
It can also be mixed, like there's a slash notation for every cert node and so on. So there's a lot more. It's in the documentation, but I think it's very useful to already see that, yeah, 2 hosts can be written in a shorthand.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything in mind that you would like to do, or shall we just install, let's say, nginx?
Yes, it's pretty much like I'd like to hand it over back to you, because we set up everything, and like if you have something in mind, we can go towards that goal.
Let's go with nginx. Okay, so
we can try nginx, yeah.
So let me just find the IP addresses, because I already forgot them. So we have this IP address, let's say. Let's go with Ubu1. And I open the browser, and I think I have to type here HTTP in order to make it work or not. So now we know that there's no web server, obviously, on that machine, because it's just a default machine. So let's install nginx, okay?
Yeah, so just to be clear about the goal before we start, we want to see something in the browser, right? Like it works, or something like landing placeholder page, right? The default nginx page. That's the goal.
Yeah, let's start with this, that we would like to install the default nginx on this machine. Okay, and then we can create a file here and create a configuration of nginx, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I think just again to try to break it down step by step. I think it's good to think about it like as a lifecycle management, because it's going to be a service, and we need to install it somehow, then configure it and run it. I guess for today we can skip the distro it, but maybe at the end we can also do that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I think what would be good is for that is to just create a directory for all our code, because we were so far just running it from the command line as ad hoc commands.
Yeah.
But I guess this would be more steps than before, and it would be very long as a one-liner.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would like to put it into some file, and yeah, let's create.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll let you pick a name for that. You know, it's often like called infrastructure or.
Okay.
I mean, just a directory first. Just there will be possibly more than one file, because we will have a rex file to configure rex. Maybe we will split it out into a module. We will probably store an nginx configuration we want to copy. So it will be a collection of files. That's why a directory. And yeah, in infra, the basic of creating an infra project with rex is to create a rex file with uppercase R. So pretty much like with make, you have make file. With rex, you have rex file.
Okay, wait a second. So there is a question in the chat, and they're discussing it. Is that how
thanks for keeping
how to avoid the? I think that was the question. How to avoid the recognition or the need to type in yes when you have a new key, when you new host, if Rex supports that. So you can do this with the SSH host keys checking no. That on the SSH level. The question is or my question is at least, is that if I can do it on the Rex level. So I could actually, before we do that, I can try to run Ubu just one, and it how does it notice it? How does it understand it?
Because it's in the SSH config, you specify the alias without a dash.
And then it won't ask for the server key?
It would, but only on first connection. The question was like, do you want to save it to known hosts? Do you accept this? Do you know this host? So
yeah,
now
but
it's
I think we didn't do that.
.ssh known host. You deleted that before, but since then we already connected again, and you pressed yes, yes.
But that was, so, I think, with Ubu -1. So.
Yes, and I think your SSH is also configured to don't save the names directly, but the hashes of the names, right? So you cannot easily tell which one is which.
Okay, so whatever, I'll just remove it.
Yeah, so a few options come to mind if we don't want to answer this question. I would say that ideally, the host key of Ubu1 and Ubu2, because those boxes are part of my inventory now, right? That's part of my infrastructure. It would be part of the infrastructure management database, right? So it's like, yes, this is my host. This is the correct key. So everyone connecting to it should trust that this is the correct host, right? So for that, we would take the host key from Ubu1 and 2, put it into a central database, and on the management host, we accept it manually. You accepted it interactively because SSH asks for it. But normally you could manage this. If you have a fleet of 400 servers, you probably want to manage it in a more so it's a more organized approach. But the question is about how to avoid the question itself in these simple cases when we can say that, yeah, this is just for demo and exercise and so on. So we can, as someone pointed out, there is an SSH option called strict host key checking. We can set it to no. And there's quite a few options to do that. The first one would be to put it into SSH config because you already started to use that.
So I'll just copy it.
Yeah, you can do it for host asterisks for every host ever. I mean, that's.
How do you do that?
That's possible at host and the asterisk, yeah, strict host key checking and no at the end without the equal signs, I think.
Okay.
So it's like arbitrary SSH options can be set here because it's configuring SSH. So it's like, it's not really how you do it with Rex, but it's how you do it with SSH, right?
Yeah. And this is not really a recommended thing to do because then...
Not really. I mean, for every host, I would definitely don't want to do it. Maybe there's a subset, like for example, I often
Can I say something like this?
Yes, that's probably better. For example, I use it for a subset of machines sometimes.
Still asking me.
Yeah, maybe I didn't remember the correct syntax yet then.
Oh, no, it doesn't ask, but let's see. Okay, so the Ubu star thing wasn't working, but if I just put star, then it works. So
yeah, I would need to read the exact format.
Okay, doesn't matter.
I think the Ubu didn't work because it's matching against host names and not host aliases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is how we configure it with SSH. But if you are working in a team and 5 people have to work with it, it's harder to enforce specific SSH settings in each user's home directory. So there's also a way to put it into Rex code, into a Rex file, but we don't have a Rex file yet.
Okay.
We can take a look at it later, but arbitrary SSH options can be put into the code as well.
Okay, I'll just comment it out for now.
Yep.
Okay, so we were at the nginx configuration, and you started to say that to have to create some
Yes.
files here.
Yes. So the first one is the rex file. I think that would be
Okay.
the best. And basically, what I want to do is make sure that this printing the hostname could be possible from a rex file. We will define a task for that and make sure every configuration is correct already in the rex file. So we can just run like rex, say hostname or something like that, like what is the task name. Because that way, from the command line, we could push every logic into the rex file. And at that point, we will start converting it to, okay, I don't care about the hostname anymore, just install nginx. That will be the first step there.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you create the rex file.
What is a rex file?
It's a file named rex file with uppercase R as the initial letter.
This?
So yeah, as I mentioned with make, you have make file.
Okay.
It's a pretty common pattern across tools. So with rex, it's a rex file.
Okay.
And under the hood, we can use Perl syntax here completely, right? So it's not a specific, not a special DSL that we invented. It's just, of course, Rex has its own helpers and so on to write things nicely, but it's free form Perl. You can write any Perl. And I think I would start with, yeah, you can omit it, but I really like to start with use Rex.
Like this?
Yes, and in itself it would work, but Rex also has feature flags, and I think I would really like to enable the latest features, which is the 1.4.
So how do
So
you
it's
do that?
minus feature, and then a space, fette, comma, like the, yeah, and then yeah, let's keep it open for multiple options. So we will create array reference. Yeah, QW is good, but within square brackets, right? So it's array reference. No, QE is inside.
Okay. Okay. So this is going to be an array reference. Okay. Like
Yes.
this.
Yes. So 1.4 is a version feature flag. That will be our first one. Yeah. 1.4.
Version?
No, just 1.4.
1.4.
Yes. The numbered feature flags.
So what
Maybe
does
you
this
can
mean?
open the CPAN documentation just to have a quick look. The feature flags. So we have a standalone feature flags plus version feature flags. A version feature flag is basically a bundle of a couple of others, just to quickly enable the preferred set, right? So I think if you go up to the table of contents, yeah, contents show, there's feature flags. Yeah, there's how to enable them. And the other one, just like in the example, will be exec auto die. And if you scroll down on that page, you will see lots and lots of feature flags. So I don't want to go into every one of them, but these two are my generic defaults because I like to use the latest features, right? And 1.8 of Rex definitely has the 1.4 features.
Okay.
And exec auto die is pretty much like if you write a bash script and you set -e to die on first error.
Yeah.
So that's usually very good for debugging, especially during development. That's what exec auto die does. So that's why we specified these two. And then if you go back to your Rex file, with 2 lines below, we can write our first task. And this will be a keyword task. And then within quotes, we can name it like print underscore hostname or something like that.
Print underscore hostname.
Yes, and then a comma, and then we will specify a subroutine, a comma, and then we will finish it with a subroutine reference. That's an anonymous subroutine reference, right? Yeah, and a semicolon at the end. And between the two lines, we can write or say run hostname, like we did on the command line. So run is the Rex equivalent to ask it for running a command, right? The argument is hostname, that's a string, that's the command to run. And say is please print the output. So if you save this file,
okay,
and go back to the command line with rex minus uppercase T for tasks, we can list all the tasks. Rex minus T. Yeah, it says it has one task named print hostname.
Okay.
Now we can run it with so the print hostname, the task name, can go in place of the eval part. So if you go back in your history, instead of just delete the -e part and replace it with print hostname. So it asks that on this host, please run this task, right?
Like this?
Yes. And there. Yeah.
Okay.
So it still works. So that's how we put the code from the one-liners into a Rex file, and that is a named task is a named container to bundle together a couple of steps. But of course, you can have multiple tasks and so on. So that's what we are going to do with the nginx task.
Okay. How do you add description to this? I see that Steve is saying that he's adding descriptions.
It's not that nice like this because it's just a name. So on the line above the task, you can start with desk. That's the start of description, just desk with a C.
Okay.
Yeah, and space within quotes, you can specify in the description. For example, print hostname of the box or something like that.
Okay.
And close it with a semicolon because it's just per, right?
Okay, and now if I run
now, Rex minus T, excellent.
Okay.
So that's how you can also document your task or have a quick reference to remember back. I believe it could also be multi-line and free-formatted, so you can have a task name description nicely formatted with this.
Okay.
But let's go toward installing nginx.
Yeah, sure.
There are two things come to my mind. One is that we really relied on Rex's do what I mean features, because we're still not specifying any credentials for authentication. So we rely on the default key authentication from SSH, the default username, and so on. And I think for today, we can keep it like that. But of course, there are options to override that. So I just wanted to mention that, of course, it is possible to configure it within Rex and also in SSH. But for nginx, it's a quick question. What would you prefer? We could have one big task that handles 2 or 3 steps, because it will be installing a package, copying a configuration file, and then starting the service. So it's just 3 commands. It could go into one task.
Well, for now, we don't copy a configuration file. We just use the default. Let's start with the default.
Oh, okay.
And then we can have one task.
Yeah, I would also say then it's probably best to just keep it simple. It's a single task, and later when it grows, we will split it up.
Okay.
Also in that regard, as you can imagine, we can write many tasks into the rex file. Some of them will end up related to nginx, and later on it will end up to, I don't know, a database or time syncing. Since rex code is just per code, it's totally possible and even recommended after a while to split it up into standard per modules. I just wanted to mention it right now, that as soon as it will get complicated, we will split it up. Just be prepared.
That reminds me that we had this question that we got earlier in email is how to share I guess modules or tasks or whatever, so rex files, or I don't know. Some people create these pieces of code and they would like to share. So what is your recommendation to share?
Yes, there's again a couple of things one can do, but I think the most important thing with rex in usual is to really go back to the rex code is just per code idea, which means if I need to distribute rex code, I don't know, across my team or on cpan with anyone else, I would do whatever I would do with per code. And that means, on one hand, I tend to put all my code that is supposed to be shared, and sometimes even personal code, into a Git repository, right? So I can put it under version control. And when I have to share it, I just share the Git repository. So I can push it to GitHub or can have a private Git server, and the other person can clone it and run the same task, right? Provided that I also give configuration instructions and so on, right? Because you were setting up your SSH config. If you put this code into a Git repo and someone else just clones it, they will not have the SSH config. So in that case, it might be better to configure the strict host checking no option in the rex code. So it's also part of the configuration.
Well, it depends, because if I want to share it like publicly,
exactly.
then I don't want those things.
Exactly, and that's the second very important thing with rex things, as usual. It's like it depends. So with rex, you have a lot of building blocks to help you build your automation tool, right? That's why we call it the framework. You can use a lot of things only with the built-ins, but as soon as you have like special needs, rex tries to not have an opinion on that, or like not too much opinion on that, and just allow you to put together what you need. So if it's like, if you want everyone to just configure their own SSH configs, you can do that. But if you want to enforce common config, you can also do that. So rex doesn't care about that. Of course, it's a bit different trade-off than probably with some other tools. But it's only really about like what you would do as a developer. So you are creating a solution as a developer now. And if what I need to solve is enforce the same SSH setting everywhere, I will put it into the code, make it mandatory, right? And if it's just like, yeah, I don't know how it will be used, everyone can, I mean, everyone should be able to configure it on their own, then we should somehow split it. So it would be like more like logic and config data. And this is really different on a case-by-case basis. That's why for sharing code, there's also different recommendations. But yeah, one is a version control. I usually use a Git repo. And since rex code is per code, if I can reach a generic enough state of my logic I implement with rex, I can also upload it to cpan, right?
Is there recommended, or are there such distributions on cpan that include the
That's a couple. That's a couple. You can just open maybe metacpan now and look for it, like which packages have rex as a dependency. On one hand, I would say that is the recommended way to do that.
So we
Also,
can,
on
we
the
can
other
go
hand,
here and reverse dependency. I'll open that one.
yeah,
So these are, okay, so these are,
there's a couple, yeah.
okay, good. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
I would say in general that's the recommended. Also in the RexOps organization in GitHub, so github.com/RexOps, there's a lot of code that is not published on cpan.
github.com/RexOps. Okay.
So that's one. If you scroll down, there's a lot of repository. You can see that Foreman, Artifactory, Jenkins, Logverge, Field1, Rex nginx, and so on. Those are more like example codes. Unfortunately, they are not really maintained by their original authors, but it's there, so you can have a look and take it as an inspiration to write your own.
Okay.
So that's how you could share via Git. And I think cpan-m, cpan- can also install modules from a Git repo.
Yeah,
so that's also a way. But what I would really recommend, and that's what I try to do, is if I write the extension to Rex, for example, I put it on cpan.
Yeah.
So it's also a good question, and often see this question, like why there's no the official Rex module for nginx, for example, on cpan yet. And I think it's because, as I mentioned, that everyone's use case to solve is different. And since with Rex, you are only implementing the building blocks that is interesting for you, that allows you to make the simplest things possible, right?
Yeah.
But it's not generic enough to share it with others and promise that it will solve all your nginx problems ever, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why there's no the nginx module on cpan yet. It would be very nice if someone would have the need and also the means to do that. It would be really nice. But because of this different trade-off I mentioned, I think that's why. But if you look around on GitHub, you can find some.
Or they could just sponsor you and do this, and then let you do it.
Yes, definitely. That's also a way. On GitHub sponsors, I'm available. Also as a freelancer, I'm available. So if somebody really needs the full-blown nginx management with Rex, we can do that. Yeah. It's just happened that as we will see in a few steps, it usually boils down to 3 or 4 commands, and that's good enough and covers all our problems, and we can afford to not care about 90% of the nginx problems, right? That might ever come. I mean, it's a big software package, many options, different opinions, how it's best to configure, and so on. So it's probably not that easy to make a real generic nginx automation. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Let's go ahead and
so shall I create
install it on our own. Let's create a new task and let's call it desk. First desk. Let's write what we will want to write.
The first like the desk.
Yes, just a description. It's like set up nginx or install nginx.
Whatever, yes.
I like setup more because that's kind of involves more steps. Install is just installing it. We will do more.
Okay.
So yeah, and yeah, you can name it as setup_nginx, for example.
Actually, you could write it like this, no?
Yes, because it's Jasper, you can do it. Yes.
Yeah, that syntax would also work. Okay.
Yes, and for that, to set it up, we would need to install the package, right?
Okay.
The package is called nginx or nginx common. You remember the name of the package on Ubuntu?
No, but I can
Let's check.
So there is
There's a lot.
nginx and nginx common, and I have no idea what do I need to install here. And nginx core standard version.
I think nginx. I think that's a meta package that will pull in any dependencies. So let's just use nginx in itself.
Nginx?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the syntax for that is pkg. That's a short for package, right?
Sorry?
pkg as a short for package.
Okay.
Because the package keyword is a per keyword, so we cannot override that, or
Yeah.
that would be nice, wouldn't be nice.
And
yeah, in quotes, nginx.
it's not configured. The Vim is not configured to insert spaces or whatever.
Maybe you can set file type per, right? So you will get the syntax highlighting and everything if it's configured. But on the management box, yeah, it's better. So package nginx. Nginx is in quotes because it's an argument.
Okay.
It could also be array reference if you want to install 10 packages, but it's just one for now.
Okay.
Comma, and we will give some options to the package command, and that is ensure present. Ensure fat comma quote present.
Sorry, what was the word?
Ensure.
Ensure.
E-N-S-U-R-E, ensure,
okay.
because we are ensuring a state for this package,
Okay.
and that is fat comma, and in quote present. Yeah, and that's it.
Okay.
So this is like telling Rex that please ensure that the package called nginx is present on these systems where we run this task, right?
Okay.
So that's what it will do.
So I just noticed that your Hungarian accent in English is different than mine, but
it could be.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also a nice comment from Steve on the chat. I just noticed that he mentions that he prefers to call the tasks the other way around, like nginx underscore setup.
Okay.
Yes, that's good. Also for tab completion, it could be easier and so on. I think it's especially useful to do like that if you have a big Rex file handling multiple things. Personally, what I usually end up with is put the nginx related tasks into a per package, a per module called Rex something nginx. Then I don't have this problem, right? Because namespacing is done in a different way. But that's a very good tip that if somebody uses multi-purpose Rex files, then it can be handy. I think we can just save it setup nginx or whatever is your preference.
No, I can go with this now for now, and then we can refactor it later. If you have time, we might move it to the module per module.
Yes. Also, yeah. Let's continue with that. So we can already try to run this against Ubuntu, for example.
So let's see this one. Okay. And then I can, let's go with Ubuntu.
Yeah.
But not print host name. Let's set up nginx.
Exactly.
But there is no tab completion here. I guess we can configure that.
I think in version 1.8.1, it was not part of the Debian package yet. So you have to configure it manually, or we can install a newer one.
But then there would be tab completion on the command line?
Yeah. For the task names, host names, and group names. We didn't go into host groups yet, but it's possible to put multiple hosts into a named group.
I'm
And for example,
already registering at your for a separate such video when you're explaining how to do that. Okay.
Yeah, sure. That's what we expected, that we probably cannot cover everything, but it's more like whatever you throw at me, we just try to go into that and also look at the alternatives and just do the simplest thing.
So this was Ubuntu Ubu 1. And now it's supposed to, so this was the one that I already tried. It's still nothing.
I think you can also use, instead of the IP address, you can use the name, because you have it.
Well, not there. I can curl from
okay.
here. I can curl from here.
Okay.
Ubu 1. This one actually answers. So what?
I think you wrote HTTPS.
That might be. Yes, indeed.
And the default configuration doesn't listen.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Welcome to nginx.
Okay.
So that was only one line.
Yeah, that was nice.
But this is only just the packages installed.
Okay.
A full-blown nginx configuration, as I said, involves configuration and running the service. In our case, the Debian package manager apt already auto-started the service, so that's nice. Or yeah, sometimes it's not nice, but for us it was very helpful this case.
Okay.
So what next? Do you want to put up a config file, or what do you want to do with the nginx?
Let's create a file here. Vim main HTML that would say welcome to Rex. Okay.
Okay.
And
you want to deploy it, right?
Sorry?
You want to deploy it?
Yeah. Let's put it on the server.
Okay. If you want to deploy this file, what I would recommend is to create another directory here called files.
Okay.
And any file you want to deploy, you can put it under files.
Okay, so I move this there.
Yes. I even often follow the full path specification to this file. So if you know you want to deploy it to var www something something, you know that already? Where do you want to?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Let's just put it here, and then we will have more files, because as you can imagine, in a full-blown infrastructure management project, you manage hundreds of files.
Okay.
You have to somehow categorize them, but we have only one main HTML. Let's deploy that.
Okay. Should we? So we can replace the default file, I guess. I have no idea where it's located, but we can.
Yes, that's my plan. That's the easiest thing to do. It might not be nice, but that's the easiest thing to do. We already have a landing page. That's the default nginx file, and just replace that, right?
You know what? Let's make it a little bit more complex for now. Already, let's create a let's put it in a separate directory and replace the default configuration of nginx to something else. Oh, maybe okay. So
okay,
it's now. Let's see.
Whatever you want.
Let me tell you this one. So okay. So if now I access Ubu 1 this way, or if I ping Ubu 1, okay, but if I access with curl the IP address, and probably here I have to put HTTP as well.
Yeah, maybe that's the default, but good to be explicit.
Okay, so now they both give us the default page. Let's configure that Ubu 1 will return this new page. Okay, so we'll keep the default. So this will stay the same.
Okay.
But if I curl on Ubu 1, then it will give us. So for that, we'll need a nginx configuration file, which, well, I have to find out how. Do you remember, or shall I just find one and copy it here?
Sorry, could you repeat the last one?
That we need a configuration. Yeah.
Yes. please find the config, because I don't want to look up the
Okay.
documentation for that.
I'm finding one.
Just have a template file, put it into files, and I will help you take care of the deployment part from Rex file.
Just a second.
So if I understand you correctly, you want to reply with the different content if you ask the server by its name, then by its IP.
Yes.
All right.
So I even make the changes here. I don't know if I want this one. Sorry for editing outside, but it's a file that I think that's it. Just a second, and I'm going to move it to now I need to remember that, how to do this. Do you remember the IP address of this machine?
No, unfortunately not.
This one.
So you are copying a sample nginx config file to the management node right now?
Yes, so
okay.
It should be what? Okay, sure, okay. There you are, okay?
Excellent.
So I move it also under files, and let's just look at it, make sure that it looks correct. So it will listen on 80, both on IPv6 and IPv4. The server name is defined ubu1, and it will serve from the directory which is called root rex. Okay.
All right. So we need to deploy this config file and use it as nginx config. When we change it, we need to restart nginx, right?
Yes. Okay.
And we also have to deploy the main HTML, right, to /root/rex directory.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And we have to name it on the remote as index.html.
Yeah, we can change it here.
Oh, it's okay. We can ask Rex to do it.
Okay, we can ask.
Just wanted to go through the steps first and think about what we are going to do, and then translate it into Rex.
Okay.
Right. I would say let's just extend the setup nginx task for now.
Let's write it down. Okay. So copy.
But you can write it inside the task already, so you have a nice commented task then.
In the description of it, or what?
No, in the body of the task.
Yeah, whatever. We'll move it there. Okay. I'm just thinking around. Okay. So it's called.
Sure. Whatever works for you. That's the point.
It's ubu1conf, and then we also copy main.html to root rex index.html, and copy this to
etc nginx.conf, something like that.
nginx sites and enable, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's check this. Okay, so we can run rex. I don't remember how to run it.
-e.
Rex, sorry,
-e for ever, right? Ever using this.
Run and ls -l etc nginx,
Yeah.
right?
Before you press enter.
And then I have to say it.
Yes.
And I also, the quotes are not good because I.
Yes, I would no, just delete back to and go outside the parentheses and space and Q. So it's using the per quoting operator, right?
Yeah, okay.
That's the easiest, I think, because if you mix it with the shell and per quoting and everything,
yeah, okay.
And you get it as one line now.
Yeah.
Nice. If you put in save for run, it will iterate over all the lines. That's okay. What happened now?
You didn't like us.
Okay, that's strange. Yeah, maybe try different coding. I'm not sure what happened. So in double quotes instead of Q? I don't think that should matter though.
No, I know that's not the problem. It might be a version. Yeah, that's a version thing that I thought that maybe this version.
I think that could be. I don't remember such a bug though.
Can I, for example, okay, so now per this idea, data dumper, can I load?
Yes, just put the return value of run into a variable and print that with data printer or data dumper.
So, but I have to load it, no? I have to say use.
Yes,
data
exactly.
Dumper, and then I say I can do this probably. It didn't buy.
But that's an array now.
Sorry, no. I just forgot to say dumper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, others noted, hi Alex, that it's working for them. So maybe it could be old version.
Yeah, maybe.
I would say I look into it, but probably I don't want to look into a 1-year-old version.
No,
definitely
there's no
should
point.
be working.
No point. we solved it. So
yes, and as you can see, it's just per. So knock yourself out. If you like dumper, just use dumper.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So yeah, inside nginx, sites enabled is usually just symlinking to sites available, right? But whatever you like.
Something else. 3. Oh, I had etc nginx. I wouldn't need that. Okay, probably there's no 3 command. Okay.
Yes. Bash 3 command not found, as you can see in the standard there.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. Yes. You can install it with package 3 ensure present if you want.
Sites
dash enable. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we have there, and we would like to. So let me go back to the here. So etc nginx sites enabled to copy there. Copy this one and restart nginx, or reload nginx is enough.
Or reload, okay.
Okay, so this is what we would like to do. So now we can create the task, right?
All right. So I would say that, okay, 2 options. If you want it to be a different task, because we are configuring nginx now, you can create a configure nginx task. That's fine. But we can also put it into the setup nginx.
No, we are creating a separate.
Okay. Then let's have task configure. And yeah, actually that's what I do. I have separate tasks for installing, configuring, and often running and for destroying things. Because that way I have a fine-grained control over what I want to run on a specific machine, while I still can depend on many tasks to call all of them at once.
You told me at the beginning earlier that I should put it these comments or whatever inside the task. How else would you want to change it?
I think if you just press O to start editing the line below, we can write the equivalent rex command.
I guess we can just convert this, but yeah, okay. I probably need everything there, right? No?
Yes, but then just write file and then the target file name in quotes.
First, so it's turn around, switch them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you don't need the copy, just file.
Okay. Sure.
File is the rex command name, right?
Okay.
And please quote it and use the full path, so including the file name.
Okay, so I have to have it here.
Yes.
Exactly.
And this is what we will use on the next copy to rename main HTML to index HTML, because so this is the target file we want to create on the remote, right? So it
Okay.
will be the full name on the remote, and we want etc nginx size enabled ubu1.conf, and then you can delete until the end of the line because we don't need the two, and just continue again. We will pass a couple of options like with a comma. We will just copy this source file one-to-one to the remote, so you can use the source option and again fat arrow, and exactly, and it's in the files repo, files directory, sorry, so files slash yes.
Okay.
It will look it up from there. There's also a possibility to set owners and group settings and permissions.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the defaults are good, or do you want to be explicit about it? Like it's
okay.
root. Okay, it's the default. So that would copy ubu1.conf already.
Okay.
Let's create. Yeah, that's a good idea to indent it.
Okay.
Maybe indent the others too.
Yeah.
And similarly, it's a nice exercise for you. Using the example of the first file command, write the second file command to deploy main HTML as root rex index HTML. Excellent.
Okay.
Quick note. We are trying to deploy into a directory that does not exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably want to create a directory between the two.
Okay.
For that, you can use the same file command.
Okay.
And pass the name root rex and ensure directory. If you ensure that this is a directory. Yeah, I think that's clear enough, right?
Okay.
Also, we said we want to reload nginx.
Mm-hmm.
We have okay, let's write an explicit command for that, but then we will mix it up just a little bit, just to make the logic a bit more clear.
Okay.
For managing services, there's a service command, and the name of the service is nginx.
Nginx, yeah.
Okay, again inside single quotes. Yeah. And so we can also ensure start, stopped, and so on states, but I think it's also possible. Let me just quickly look up the exact syntax. We can also pass direct commands for the service, and we want the reload command, right? That's what.
Yeah. So because if you just say ensure, now it's my pronunciation. If you say that, then it will say okay, it's done. It's still running. So you can't just say here now ensure present or running, because it says, okay, it is.
So I would
So
say, instead of ensure, and instead of the comma, just use the fat comma. I mean, it's equivalent, but I think it's nicer with the fat comma, and just ask reload in a quote. So this is the service manager's command, right? So if it's etc init the nginx, it will call etc init the nginx reload. If it's system control, it's system control reload nginx, right? So it's a direct command, because sometimes service files have extra commands. So there's a free form possibility. And this would do the reload. But this would do the reload anytime you execute this task, but you only want to reload nginx if the config file has changed, right?
Okay.
Do you want to do it like that?
Yeah, let's do that if you're already here.
Because I think that's the very common task to do. Like if I run this config task every 10 minutes or half an hour, I don't want to restart and reload nginx all the time, right? Usually, only when there was a change. So for that,
right, but actually, so that's why would you run the task if the file is not changed? So the config file can be changed and the HTML file. If now I'm trying to deploy just new versions of HTML files, then probably I would create a separate task that would just do that, right? And then I don't need the reload.
Yes. I mean, usually we only need to reload the service when something changed, right?
Well,
so
when either a configuration or some executable changed.
Yes, I mean, the point is that there were some kind of change. We need to trigger a reload.
Okay.
Right? And this is unconditionally triggering a reload.
Yeah.
It's also fine. This could be the first version if you want.
No. Let's do this condition. So now, okay.
But if you want to do it conditionally, I would say that, just for the example, the first file command, when the nginx config changes, reload nginx, right? So if you copy the whole line, service nginx reload.
This one copied?
Like press DD to delete, right? And you can paste it back.
Why would also just yank it? Okay, I already yanked it.
Yeah. So what we are going to do is that the first file command for the ubu1.conf already has a source option. We will add one more option, the on change option. Right? So we can continue on that line. On_change.
Okay.
And for readability, you can also put all the options on a new line, right?
Okay, so
and with the indentation, Perl tidy would take care of that if you use Perl tidy.
Yeah, and also if I was configured Vim, then I could just press tab, but I didn't do that. Okay.
So and for on change, the value would be after a fat arrow is a subroutine reference with the pasted command, right? So it's arbitrary code in there. If there's a change in this file, reload nginx. If you read it out,
but then I don't need this one, right?
Yeah, just comment it out. Yes. If you read it from top down, it's I would like to believe it's pretty understandable what it does.
Yeah.
Please make sure that this file coming from this source and on change, reload nginx service.
Okay.
So I think that that's a more complex command already, more options, but this is a common operation. That's why I wanted to show it. So let's run this task now. Hopefully it works.
Where is my command? Oh, I got tired already, so let's do this one. Okay. And then what was the command? How do I write it? I forgot, sorry.
Minus uppercase H for ubu1.
Okay. And then
configure nginx. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you are using the full name. There's no known host key for that yet, so you can accept it.
Okay, whatever happened.
Service nginx is reloaded. I think it just did it. Let's, yeah, that's the by IP. I would say it's forbidden. Okay. So something changed, that's good. But what I wanted to say is that first check if everything is correct on the remote. If you log into ubu1, you can check what's there. There should be the root rex and root rex index HTML, right? Yeah, you don't have to log in. You can ask rex.
I don't want to log in. I always have been logging into every server. Okay, so I have the configuration file is there. So ubu1 is there. And and if I try the same root here, then
as someone already pointed out on the chat, the problem is that nginx cannot access the root rex directory. It does not have the permissions, probably.
Yeah,
that's why we have 403 forbidden.
Yeah, yeah, it's owned by root, and nginx probably runs by some other. Yeah. That's
why I asked, do you want to specify the permissions for the file?
Okay, so how can we fix this now? Change mode, yeah. So that's the recommendation.
I think, yeah, the easiest, as commented, is to add an X flag, executable flag for the root directory.
But we don't.
That's not so secure.
Right? If I change this.
But yes.
Will this execute and update it?
Yes. Okay. So you can. I mean, it doesn't feel secure to do that. But if you want to do that, you can pass mode and just the permissions you want. What I would do is probably use a different directory that is already accessible by nginx.
Okay, so where shall we put it?
Just reading the comments. So what we got is that on /root. So nginx user, nginx as a service runs as the nginx user, right, as the process owner, and that cannot read into the root directory because it's owned by root, and the other users cannot look into it. So we need to set the last octet of the permissions to what is that, 5, right?
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I'm thinking about something else. So just no, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I would do. What is commented? Just put it under temp or var www nginx, where it already has access, right? So
TMP.
I don't want to show bad practice here.
Yeah, that's better. TMP
or
rex.
Yeah. But temp rex, please add one more option.
/opt would be like, would also stay there, no?
Yes, basically, it's a deployment question. If in your environment you deploy to temp, then deploy to temp. If you deploy to opt, deploy to opt. So Rex doesn't care, you just configure it.
No, I was wondering, so
I think there's a default like var www nginx or something like that.
Yeah, we can.
But that would override the default. Yeah, var www HTML. But let's use temp for this exercise. I think that's good.
Okay.
Just just make sure that the temprex directory is owned by nginx, right?
Okay.
So you can continue with more options, owner, fat comma, nginx. Also group, fat comma, nginx, owner group, we will force it.
Okay.
So we don't want to take chances because we don't have that much time.
Yeah.
But this is a new directory. This is our deployment target. We can do whatever we need, right? And also the mode, I think, would be good.
Sorry,
So we have owner, group, and configure the mode. And I would say that's, yeah, 0755. 0750. That would be for nginx user everything, right? Read, write, execute. For the nginx group, read, write, and for the world, read, execute, read, execute.
Okay.
And yes, please edit this file because we need to deploy to temprex. Yes.
Okay.
And now one more thing, that now the config of nginx will not change. We already deployed that. We need the same on change hook.
No, it will.
Right. Okay. But if it wouldn't change, it wouldn't reload nginx now, right?
Right.
But we will change it, so it will reload. Okay. But I wanted to say that we might need to copy the on change hook to the other file command, but no, I think it should work. Let's do it. Yeah. Something's not good. It cannot run change owner to nginx under for temprex. Yeah. Wait, maybe it's not owner but user. Let me check quickly.
Okay.
I'm also after a long day and no, it's owner, group, and mode. So that was right. So temprex should be a directory, owner, nginx, group, nginx.
Someone says that maybe this is not a string, that this should be just a
number.
number.
But the problem is with ch own. But yeah, we can try that definitely. But so username is www. No, yeah, sorry, there's no user called nginx. I just assume that it's called nginx. The user, thanks Alexander, is www-data.
Okay. So
yeah, so we were doing an assumption here that was not true.
And should this be a number or a string?
I think it's good like that, but if you, yeah, string, I think just.
So we had a string earlier, but okay.
I usually write it as a string because it can also take the string notation like RWX or O plus R and so on. Like whatever you can pass to chmod. Now it should be good. Yeah. Now it's www-data.
Yeah.
Cool.
And this one still showing.
And that's still the default
page. Okay. Good.
There you go. We installed nginx with Rex and then altered the configuration, dynamically reloaded the service, and deployed a very simple web page.
Yeah.
Is Perfect. It in the browser as well?
Sorry?
Show it in the browser.
But in the browser, I have to configure
okay.
the host name. So now, okay. I would have to configure, but it's okay. It's perfect. I mean, we managed to do a lot of things, I think, and thanks a lot to all the people who helped us with the issues that we had. And thank you very much for doing this and spending like 2 hours on this now, and actually to maintain Rex. Any questions from the chat room that before we close it, because I think it's, or you would like to add something, Ferki?
No, I think it was enough for the first session. We looked at various concepts already, like configuring SSH versus configuring Rex, also using it on the command line for basic use cases. We transformed the basic use cases into a Rex file, which we can later share with others, right? And then we already started to manage like a real service with it, right? This machine is supposed to have nginx up and running, configured, deploy the web page. So as I said, it's quite a lot already. Of course, it can be refactored and made nicer or more data-driven and so on. But as a first session, introduction about what it can do and how, I think it's already good. So if you have time for questions, I think that would be good. And maybe we can extend it if you want.
Yeah. So what I would suggest that if people still have questions, then go ahead and ask questions. There are some questions. In the meantime, I'm telling that I will take the configuration file that we created and put it on my website, and I will send a link or whatever. It's actually I can. Where is it now? Let me try to find it for a second. It's not this one I wanted to show. So okay, you can keep answering the questions, and then I'll try to figure out what I wanted to show. Okay. So
all right, sure. So there was one question about, is Rex IRC channel still active? Already answered in the chat. Yes, it's active. That's one of the main support channels. On the website, there's a support menu. There are all the other support channels listed as well. I usually hang around on IRC, or at least I stay connected so I can see messages later. I think that's very good for just a quick exchange of ideas. We also have a Google group for more like a mailing list feeling, right? So if someone prefers emails, they can use that. And also the GitHub repo has discussions enabled since not so long ago. So there's no discussions yet, but I would say that's the third one for support questions. Yeah.
Okay,
if
so
somebody would like to contact me for direct chat, that's also possible. Just go to the support page, you can find my contact data.
Okay, thanks. Anyway, so I just pasted the link to this page where the video is going to show up here. Hopefully that the video worked well, and it's going to be on YouTube as well. And the configuration files that we used and created will be here, and probably I'll save the history of the terminal. And I put it also, I clean it up a little bit, and I put it there as well. So you will see whatever typos I made here. I would suggest that if you have questions or suggestions, what you would like to see, how to be done with Rex, okay? So for a future video, then please send it to either Ferki or to me or to both of us in some way, and then we'll discuss it with Ferki if and when we might be able to do this, and see if we can go on with the configuration or do something else. Okay.
Do we still have time for more questions? Because there are a couple.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, so there's another question. Steve asked that I've never used other common server management software like Ansible or Puppet, and how does Rex compare? I think that's an excellent and also common question. I hinted at the answer earlier that I think the biggest difference compared to other tools or frameworks is that the trade-off is a bit different. So for example, if you take Ansible, in general, that would be the closest in philosophy. That also uses SSH to manage remote endpoints, right? Also task-based. But then how you configure it or how you write your tasks is entirely different already. Ansible has its YAML-based interface or configuration. Sometimes people call it like programming in YAML, and while it's very popular and can fit a lot of use cases, it can be that others would prefer more like an approach like Rex, where you can use a full-blown programming language, right, with its own ecosystem and easy extendability. So as you could see, there are like similarities and then differences. Also, Ansible is more like a push-like management approach, right? So you're pushing changes to the remotes. That's what we did today with Rex as well. That's very common to do it like that. But if you don't specify a target host, Rex can manage the local machine as well. I think Ansible can do that too. It's really just a matter of days how you want to set it up. And that's why I mentioned this push approach, because there's also a pull approach. And I think by default, Puppet is doing like that. So Puppet has a central service, a server, where the configuration lives. And each host that you want to manage with Puppet has an agent that periodically wakes up, asks the server about the expected configuration, and applies any state changes locally. I think every half an hour it wakes up. So if you would like to do something like that with Rex, that's also possible. Like the configuration can live in a Git repo, and every 30 minutes you execute a cron job to do a Git pull and run a Rex task locally. If this task is written in a way that manages the entire configuration, not just nginx, for example, then it's very much Puppet-like behavior. And in that sense, that is a pull style management of the endpoints, right? Because it's pulling the config to the machine to apply locally. And I think that this is well demonstrates the flexibility of Rex, also the framework nature of Rex. If you need one, you can do it with Rex. If you need the other, you can do it with Rex. But it's up to you to decide, right? Also, if you need to mix those, that's also possible. So I need to, for example, run a couple of commands locally and then copy the results, for example, build results to the remote. That's also possible. So sometimes I say that where other configuration management ends, that's where Rex begins. But in reality, it's really just, it allows you to build your own, right? So that's what I would encourage everyone trying out Rex to think about it as more as a framework and not as a tool, because of this trade-off difference compared to other systems. You probably would need to think more about what you really need to automate and how you want to automate, and then implement it. So Rex helps with the implementation part, actually. All right, some other questions. Is it possible to use Rex for deploying Perl modules to remote machines? Yes, sure. I mean, if you can write the code for that, it can execute it for you. Depending on the deployment you need to do, I think, yeah, I mean, there could be different options, right? What I would do is probably just call cpan-m on the remote machine to install a Perl module for cpan. If I need to install a Perl module from a local repository, like a dark pan, I can just configure cpan-m to do that. I can also just git clone and build the module locally. So depending on the exact needs and circumstances, the steps needed to build or install a per module can be replicated with Rex. And if I would need to do that a lot from a specific project, I probably would write the Rex module to abstract these details away from me, so I can just call, I don't know, cpan m as a Rex command, and it would figure it out for me. All right. I guess that was at least the end of the chat.
Okay.
Regarding questions, if we miss something during the session, just let us know. Write us, contact us. I mentioned the support channels already, rexify.org. You can find the support page there. And yeah, IRC mailing list, GitHub discussions are great for this. Or if you would like to book me directly, that's also possible. But since we develop it fully open source and there's a community, I think it's best to first chat with the community channels if you have generic questions. So others can help it, not just me. But if you want specifically me, that's fine too.
Okay. I think we can close this now, I guess.
Yep.
In the meantime, I was working hard to try to move the files. I haven't updated everything yet, but and I will wait for the video to show up. So it will take some time. So thank you very much, and hope to see you again sometimes. I'm going to turn off the video, but you can stay on here if you prefer. Okay.
Thank you too for inviting.
So thank you very much. It was really nice doing it. Yeah, and register on the website or whatever, and then follow the YouTube channel and whatever link, whatever needs to be said. Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.